one of the issues at the moment is ensuring that IT admins don't have to lose out on any of the security measures because they don't have enough time to administrate on the endpoint devices. A large advantage of making use of the Microsoft Defender Advanced Threat Protection is it can remediate a lot of the process that goes into this. As the landscape continues to grow, as the attack vectors continue to expand, and as there are increasingly numbers of ways to get through a device and vulnerabilities that are on a device, it's increasingly important to make sure that they are maintained, or rather that the security of the devices is maintained. This is a general idea of where people are getting the information about their articles, or rather about the applications that are running in the organization. Now, even if you just take the sanctioned applications or the ones that are packaged by your environment, there's still an increasing number of applications to keep track of on a daily basis, whether they are secure or not. Zero-day exploits are continually to be, are increasing in their frequency, and it's becoming more and more important to make sure that you are resolving these vulnerabilities in a timely manner. The reason why Defender ATP is advantageous in this, and as we'll go through later, is it provides a recommendations list based on the devices that are in your environment and based on the vulnerabilities that are found on there. So we'll come back to that a little bit later. Furthermore, to discuss Microsoft Defender ATP and where it sits in the general environment. So it provides, it's the platform which provides the endpoint security for your devices. By having a client and a service acting on the devices that are enrolled in your environment, you're able to get better information to, as we can see there, feed into other environments or other Office 365 security centers. By using this information, we can enhance the purposes of those and enhance the effectiveness of things like cloud app security by providing additional measures to sanction and unsanctioned applications, providing additional information to identity protection to ensure that the users are who they say they are when they log in, and just in general have better control over the devices and the information that's coming in to ensure that you're making the right decisions regarding the devices in your organization. As we can see there, it feeds into Azure Sentinel as well, which Andy will go through a little bit later. So back to Microsoft Defender ATP. First of all, the attack surface reduction. By ensuring that the live real-time scanning on the devices is happening, by collating data from various different sources within Microsoft's suite and ensuring that this information is coming from real-world scenarios, it increases the chance that you're able to find these vulnerabilities and find this attack surfaces and have them or patch them in time so that they don't become something worse. By offering next generation protection, it continues to advance and continues to learn from the real world scenarios and ensure that devices are up to date with their valid protection. Endpoint detection and response ensures that the devices themselves are automated or automatically remediating themselves, providing steps to do so within the admin center and ensuring that these steps are being carried out or to a certain extent waiting for actions by an IT administrator. We can see the overall security posture, which again we'll go through in a moment in the demo, but we can get a better understanding of the security of a whole of all the devices, as it will also give a security score specifically for the devices, specifically for each device and for the fleet as a whole. Finally, the advanced hunting allows you to deep dive into specific scenarios within any given device and allows you to look further at any issues that may be afflicting them, have a look at which services they're affecting, have a look at what the effect is on the user and on the data itself, and able to go a little bit deeper into what the issue is. So more on the automation side of things. So as we saw at the start, this is about automating the manual remediation process. There's not enough time to continually go through and manage each incident, or at least there shouldn't be that much manual effort being put into something when it can be automated. By using or making use of the Microsoft Defender Advanced Threat Protection Suite and using the endpoint agents, you're able to get real-time tracking on the devices and understand where threats are happening, which users they're happening to, and the cause and resolution of such. We're able to understand how these threats are getting in through using the advanced hunting feature and understand where the vulnerabilities lie if you wish to dive deeper. There's also a new opportunity, which if you're eligible, it's maybe worth looking into if your organization meets the criteria to contact Microsoft threat experts if there's a particularly nasty situation occurring in the environment. So onto the integration a bit more. As Bart was mentioning earlier, it acts as an agent on the devices. It feeds a lot of this information and telemetry back to the other services and back to the MD ATP portal so that you can get an idea of what's happening in your environment, as well as acting as the actor on the devices themselves. If an application has been unsanctioned by Cloud App Security and is properly set up with Microsoft Defender Advanced Threat Protection and the integration is there, then it allows you this blocking or this unsanctioning to not allow the user to access these devices. So rather than going through and securing the network and blocking the IPs at a network level, you can do this at a device level through the integration of Cloud App Security and Microsoft Defender Advanced Threat Protection. The integration with Intune and Azure AD Identity Protection continues to allow this telemetry and this data to be fed back through and continue to provide additional context surrounding the device. Cool. So now we'll go through a bit of a demo of how you can view the portal, where it sits and what kind of information is sitting in there. So this will just be a click through. So this one's found at securitycenter.windows.com. And from here, from the dashboard view, you get a quick overview of the devices that are currently in your environment. You can see here a couple of active alerts, active automated investigations, the machines that are at risk, the users at risk, just a lot of valuable information at a glance that we can easily come in and see and get an idea of what's happening in the environment. Scrolling down, we can see the historical trends of the security of the devices over time, so that you can make a better judgment call as to whether or not you're improving or whether things need to be pushed along a little bit further. Coming down into the incident view. Now what it does here is, rather than having thousands of alerts going off for a singular instance or malicious activity, it combines relevant alerts into single incidents. So from here you can see exactly a bit more context regarding the incident. Clicking into it, we can see even further the alerts that are being thrown and attached to this incident to understand what devices and what users are affected by this one specific incident. Clicking in further, we can go into a lot more detail as to the exact activity that's occurring for this incident. So we can see here, we can see here a lot more information around the specific services, the alert processes, exactly what's happening for that service to have been thrown as an alert. We can go into the details so that if manual remediation is needed, we've got a lot of the context already provided to continue to advance in the remediation of it. You can see easily how it's affecting other services, other processes on the device, or other devices in general, and get a better timeline of the incident as a whole. And from here, we can also manage the incident or manage the alert as a whole. So if you're dealing with an incident, managing the alerts one by one, or going through and making sure that you're covering all the bases when you're resolving something. Cool. As we can go through here, we can see all the details that are associated with the automated investigation. So again, gathering all this telemetry and all this data from the devices in real time automatically so that you have enough information and enough data to make a concise and correct decision about how to continue to protect the security of them. So next we'll run through the machines list. So again, here is an easy glance as what devices are currently in your environment and which ones may be prone to risk. You can see the severity of that risk, the user associated, the OS platform, and just a lot of information. And again, an easily filterable and easily viewable view. Clicking into this, we can see a bit more information on specific devices. We can view the risk level, we can see the users that are using it, we can see the vulnerabilities that are associated with that device, which relates back to the question I asked earlier, which is essentially who has time to manage all of these applications on a specific device. We can see the alerts that are attached to that device, and if it's attached to any multiple incidents, then we understand if there's a specific device that's causing issues. In this case, clicking through the device and finding the suspicious process that's occurring, finding the description of the process, the recommended manual actions, the timeline, and again, just further information regarding it. From here, we can see the investigation view on a specific strand of malware. We can see which files have been scanned, which machines it's currently active on, what services it's affecting, and the currently pending actions. So there are a lot of automated actions that will occur by Microsoft Defender ATP as a service. However, eventually we'll get to a point where it requires manual intervention before it proceeds with the next step. Usually this entails either quarantining files, deleting files, updating vulnerabilities, or depending how you set it, just differing levels of interactivity. Next, we'll go to the Threat and Vulnerability Management dashboard. So from here we can see an overall view, very similar to the secure score, but rather than targeting secure posture at a whole at a tenant level, rather focusing on the vulnerabilities and exposure level of the devices as a whole. We can see a quick device exposure score, which will show us as well activities or actions that we can take to improve this score, as well as the configuration. We can see exactly where on the device is being most vulnerable, whether it's the application level, the network, accounts, security controls, operating system, so we understand which is the most weakest and can target effectively. The exposure distribution as well lets us know whether this is something widespread across our fleet or whether it's something that's only targeting specific devices or specific users. On the side there, you can see a lot of top security recommendations, which again is very similar in design to the secure score on purpose. So it's a very familiar view for you to go ahead and increase the security of the devices by following simple things on the side. So rather than having to scroll through forums and posts and thousands of RSS feeds, you can easily see what devices are currently vulnerable, or rather what applications are currently vulnerable, and as a result, what devices are vulnerable. From there, you can make the decision to package updates for the applications, force through updates, or rethink the current strategy in terms of that application. So again, going down, we can just see a bit more of the information that it's able to provide. Now, it may take a little while to get used to which scores mean a lot to you, which ones are most critical. There's a lot of data there to take in, and it may not always be necessary. The important thing is that this is automated data so that you can use as much or as little as you need to make the decisions that you need